You get the full Colin experience.
But I need the little things popping up on the side. Be like, thank you.
Ding, 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 ding. Thank you, ding, ding.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh my God. I think Osama bin Laden was the first YouTube influencer.
I think he was.
He knew what to do with lighting and background. He delivered messages. He got followers.
Yep. He got a lot of followers. This is true.
Yeah. He if he had lived, he would have lived to at least the like and subscribe, or maybe the Cameo era. Like imagine getting like a $50 cameo from Osama bin Laden.
$50.
I would do it.
50 dinars, you mean?
50 dinars. I'm not paying him $2. That's mean. He is a very wealthy man. He didn't need to do that.
Well, no, it's I'm used to being the host. I'm not the host. I'm just the guest. I didn't even prep anything. So
right,
hopefully...
but as you know from how we do shit, we just jump right in.
You jump right in, and you guys tend to be ones that prep things. So see it.
Yes. We step in a preventative way.
Exactly.
And we do
you get ahead of things. You just take
ahead of things.
Just take 5 at once.
And we test every 3 months. I don't know how it works.
You could be like my manager at work who just straight up shared with everyone one day that, oh yeah, like I was taking prep, but I got these horrible nightmares. You're just
what?
Oh yeah, in front of customers. A loud conversation about prep giving him nightmares. This is another day. It's like,
why would you share that at work? That's the part that I don't understand.
Why would you share that in general? But yeah, it's just. Yeah.
That is not a side effect that I read about. So.
Oh my God!
I had to stop taking it. Yeah, that's what he said. I was like, oh, thanks.
I thought he said he was taking it. I'm not getting involved in the machinations of the gays. I'm not. Not again. No.
Well, you're the two gays that I can stand, so, which is a compliment.
Yes.
And just barely.
And
Kyle,
just
you would like a lot more than us, so we're going to restrict access to him.
Okay.
Because you would absolutely replace us.
Oh dear.
Speaking of replacement, though, let's talk about reparations.
Gays will not replace us?
Yes.
Okay. Reparations.
I'm sure you've been following because, usually your, how do I say this? Loony state is the first to have a piece of legislation or a bill or a city council,
initiative
regarding something completely fucking loony bananas, like paying millions and millions of dollars to people for reasons of skin color purposes.
Yes.
Yet California, it sounds like, is leading the way when it comes to paying reparations to the 5 African Americans who still live in the state and have not been priced out, all of whom live in Oakland. So I wanted to get your opinion on the fact that, okay, so our governor Gavin Newsom, who is
it's pronounced Newscum, actually.
Newscum.
Yeah.
Who is like Jay Inslee but better looking.
It's pronounced Inslees, but
Inslee.
Yes.
And he's created or supported the creation of this reparations commission, which was like, this sort of Angela Davis, fist up kind of thing, saying, well, we want people to pay us $1.2 million basically per person, which will never happen. And, a few other things saying that we recommend this, but we should have asked for more money because you owe us more money. And our Governor Newsom, who is, for all intents purposes, running for president, Mitch looks like he wants to shoot me, decided to step into the conversation this week and said, yeah, it's not going to happen. And I almost have to give him credit for the fact that...
No, you don't.
Well, no, I have to give him credit for the fact that he said, look, we all know this is fucking loony. But there's other things that we can do. Like, we can give you free in-state tuition or something like that, which I think is the only way that reparations would actually happen. So I want to get your thoughts on this because, you're in a state where you have a large percentage of native, Snoqualmish people. and a large percentage of very white people, and like 4 people of color, and like us, we have 5. So
yeah, we got a fair amount of Asians. I mean,
yes,
huge Filipino population.
We have more Asians than you do.
Well, you're a bigger state, so yeah.
Semantics.
Yeah.
Wasn't she one of the people in Sex and the City?
Sure.
It was Miranda in Semantics, yeah. But I wanted to get your take on this because it's the first time I've seen pushback on the left from an idea on the left, basically saying like, look, that's not going to fucking work. Let's be real. And then in a way being like, okay, let's kick that off to the side and move it along in a serious way.
I think my take on it would be something like, if I may bring in a German term, that's allowed.
You called it drink?
Yeah. From a realpolitik perspective, I think this just shows that the left, if we want to even call it that, whatever Newsom really is, whatever he represents, cringe centrist left, whatever you want to call that, is far more pragmatic than the right is, and this is why they win, is because they're willing to police their own. They're willing to force everyone on their side into this is what we're doing now. I mean, look at Bernie how many times has Bernie kissed the ring? I mean, they have
how many times has Bernie sucked the lady dick?
I mean, well, his new autobiography tells all. Yeah,
it was small and horrible.
They're way more Machiavellian, and this is why they win. And so this is something that again a lot of people on the right would talk about. This is not my original idea, but it's pretty clear that they're willing to rein in the AOCs, if you will, and release the hounds when necessary, and then pull them back in, and then circle the wagons. And I use all of those terms on purpose to trigger people. But yeah, the right is unwilling to do this because the right just gets perpetually lost in whatever brand is the appropriate brand to boycott today, while losing sight of the much bigger issue. So that's, I guess, my just quick take on it.
I'm not drinking that Bud Light. That's what they got them transgenders on the label. I stick to Stella Artois. Stella Artois, that fancy beer, and it's the same
owned by the same people. Yeah.
Exactly, it's the same fucking beer.
The same
Great,
beer.
You just gave them a higher profit margin because they make that beer in Dubuque, Iowa, and they pretend like it's from the Netherlands.
I think it's supposed to be from Belgium, but yeah.
Belgium, Indiana.
King Leopold of Belgium, Indiana. Anyhow, yeah. No, but that's my quick take on it. Yeah, I think it's the right would do well to look at what the left does. Not in terms of policy, but in terms of strategy, for sure.
So I didn't want to get into this can of worms, but you brought it up. So I blame you. Wyatt and I have talked offline about some of the same kind of things you're bringing up. So the left seems to, in my opinion, be more of team players than the right. So it goes hand in hand with the stuff that you were, bringing up. They know how to, as you said, rally the troops. What was the wagon term you used?
Circle the wagons, which is, yes. I purposely used the setter colonialist term.
Right. They know how to do that, and they do it well. They know how to put on the charade of, we're going to run, these 5-6 people for, president, and then we know exactly who we're going to give it to in the end. They do everything very purposefully and calculatedly. And the right just doesn't understand how to do that. They're too. I told Wyatt, it's almost like this is where the collectivism versus individualism could work in our favor if we learned how to take collectivism in a certain way, right? So understanding that within our team, within our group, collectivism might be okay. But in an economic sense, okay, maybe not so much.
Well, this is group preference, right? this is basically just group preference. Is that of course what's okay for my team is not okay for the opposing team. They're the opposing team. The left understands this innately, and as many people say on Twitter, the friend-enemy distinction remains undefeated. Because the left is willing to understand who their real enemy is. The right is just completely incapable of this and would rather endlessly, purity spiral.
Because we turn on each other
while the boot presses harder on your face.
But that's interesting because I listened to I wouldn't say a leftist podcast, but a podcast with people who used to be middle and they've moved to the left. And they actually had an interesting statement around the time in 2020 when Bernie was kind of cast aside for the nomination. And they said, well, the right falls in line and the left falls in love with their candidates. And I think that's interesting because they view that people on the right will get behind Trump or whomever, everything like this. People on the left will think that they're whatever candidate, Klobuchar, Warren, whatever person they've cooked up in a DNC lab, is their new savior. And I find that very interesting because it's almost like they view that they're like, well, we're not doing enough because we have Hillary as a candidate or we have Biden as a candidate. So they've had, 2 elections? Every election since Obama for the left has been for a candidate they didn't actually want. Versus for Trump on the right, you had a candidate that people actually wanted.
Yeah, people actually really like Trump. Yeah.
So that's interesting to me that they end up with these sort of leftover candidates, and in various stages they win
because they orchestrate everything to the T.
Right. So they'll tell even people on the hardest left, you got to vote for Biden or else.
Yeah, no, they tell people you have to vote for Biden or else you'll be killed, even though that's complete and utter horseshit.
Yeah, I think this is perhaps an argument, again, for maybe a little too much 4D chess, but it's perhaps an argument for the far left because that fractures the cohesive unity. So maybe we should actually kind of applaud when we see when I see leftists fighting each other on Twitter, I get happy.
Right.
So yeah, this is a good thing. As Martha Stewart has taught us, it's a good thing. Yes. But it's perhaps that you can maybe make some sort of real kind of like surface level. People on the right are more individualistic. Not true. Or some innate quality. Blah blah blah. I think it's really just about. It's a matter of time. The left has been in charge for much longer and is progressing power as opposed to a conserving or losing power. And so they're able to just play the long game, and the right can't do that anymore. Maybe they never could. I don't know, but you clearly have to. And so, yeah.
You know who's played the longest game of all?
Who?
Dianne Feinstein.
This is,
what
she's somehow still playing.
Yes, and from a wheelchair, no doubt. I mean, she looked
rough.
Those pictures.
That was rough.
Looking great.
She looked like, she looks like Wyatt in the morning. Like, what? I see him coming up the stairs to get coffee, like looking like Dianne Feinstein. I'm like, are you okay? No, you're not okay. Okay. Let me pour you some coffee here, my friend. The poor woman has shingles.
Yeah, shingles are bad.
Very bad. Like, that's painful.
Yep.
Yet the Biden administration is like, either give up your seat because we can't, vote for our judges and vote for our other stuff, or show up. And she's like, well, I'll show up because I'm not giving up my seat. Like, that's just cruel. Like, can we bring them up on war crimes or something? I don't know. This is against the Geneva Convention, right?
Well, but that's only an international conflict, so right? It's like, yeah. I mean, but this other thing, it shows you. It comes back to the. I don't think this is a good quality of the left, but they clearly understand power. They clearly are obsessed with it, but they understand power really well. The fact that she's willing to do that and or feels the pressure to do that and is willing to put herself through that just to show up. I mean, you think McConnell would show up? He'd just turtle his way out of the situation. Oh, I can't turtle. Like, but but this is just there's a real understanding of how power works, and so people are willing to do crazy things on the left to keep the coalition. Again, I'm not arguing that we should do that on the right in the same way, but it shows you there's an innate understanding that we lack, I think. So.
Well, your senator here, Mr.
Mine?
Yes.
Not my senator.
I don't actually. I'm not actually a resident of this state. I mean, yes, I reside here, but I'm not officially a taxpaying.
Wasn't that the criticism they used of Trump? Like, he's the resident of the White House, not the president.
Ooh. Wait. So, Mitch, you're saying that you're illegal?
Yes.
You're an illegal.
Get her out. Get her out.
Yeah. I'm real sorry.
I'm a legal resident of another state.
Heyo.
A state
of consciousness? Like what state?
A state that requires much less of my taxes. So
an altered state.
I can drive on the roads of California, but I pay taxes elsewhere. Yes, I'm telling on myself, live for the 5 people who might listen to this.
Yeah, you can edit it out. It's fine.
I won't. I don't give a shit. But
by the way, I think it's really nasty. Oh no, don't drop your phone in disgust. I think it's really nasty that the left is treating Dianne Feinstein like she's retarded when clearly she just has dementia. And there's 10 other people in the Senate on that side who do, and she is the recipient of all of the hate for that when there's so many other members of the Senate or House of Reps that have clear mental impairments. Like, wasn't it that doctor in Congress who said something like the number of people that I subscribe to medication to, like you would be shocked at the number of people who are supposed to represent you that are physically and mentally impaired. And it's fascinating that
Maxine
she gets
Waters.
Well, impeach for fire. We've got to stop his ass.
I was going to bring her up earlier because technically she would be getting reparations, right?
She's one of the few members of Congress I've actually met, and she is reparations. What is Frederick Douglass's mistress? I love
Which one?
Her.
Get in line.
Exactly, get in line, bitch. Get behind Rosa Parks. But I'm fascinated that the hate goes for Dianne Feinstein because she occupies a seat on the Judiciary Committee that apparently is very crucial to Biden's judicial appointments. And she was nice to, who was it? Amy Coney Barrett or Brett Kavanaugh? She was nice to one of Trump's judicial appointments to the Supreme Court. And they're like, how dare she? Like, fuck her. She should run into her in the hallway or something with her wheelchair. So it is fascinating to me that she gets thrown into the mix as she's old and evil and everything. It's like, well, you have plenty of other people who can fall into that basket. It's kind of nasty to do that for a woman who did accomplish a lot.
You're talking about DC. It's all old and evil.
Exactly.
Not all.
It's literally Mordor.
Not all.
John Kennedy is a national treasure, and I will fight to the death for him.
You know what I mean, though. I think Thomas Massey made that point pretty clear. It's like, oh yeah, like I get to I leave the Shire and go to Mordor for work, and then come back home to the Shire, and then have to leave to go to Mordor for work. It is strange. Who gets to to bring back a little bit of. I know that I'm the resident theory cell, so I have to just bring that back a little bit. But who gets to decide the exception, right? What are the exceptions to the rules? That's actually quite interesting, even within, let's say, DNC party dynamics, right? Who gets to be the friend with the one other Republican, right? Probably the centrist Republican. Who gets to do the one thing? Why is it that everyone hates Feinstein and not these other people? It is interesting. It's fascinating, and I don't have any answers, but it is just perhaps reveals something about how their coalition sticks together, and it's probably through human sacrifice, in the sense of the oldest we'll just wheel her in. Just she's already done, right?
Wait a minute.
She doesn't get.
But isn't she not? Aren't there one or two others on that side that are older than her? I think. Right. Let me see. Oldest U.S. senators Wikipedia. Yeah,
but they're not just recovering from shingles.
Yeah, well, they're recovering from smallpox. They're that fucking old. Okay. Currently, Dianne Feinstein is the oldest U.S. senator and member of Congress, and she's the longest-serving U.S. senator from California. But let's see list of current U.S. senators. Let's see them by age. Okay. Assumed office, residence, blah, 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 born. Yeah. Okay. Dianne Feinstein and Chuck Grassley were born a few months apart. And they fucked. You know, we know.
Allegedly.
Bernie, then it goes Bernie and Mitch McConnell, you know, in age. And now in the over 80s club, the last one was Jim Risch, who is a senator from Idaho, and again, useless. But that's in the Senate. In the House, let's see. List of current U.S. House.
Me and Mitch should just talk about something else while Wyatt's doing this.
House
I
have to do your job. I have to be ombudsman.
Topo Chico Seltzer. What's your opinion, Mitch? Yay or nay?
I've never had one.
You never had one? They're pretty good. The margarita ones are nice.
Okay, hold on a second. Grace Napolitano, who's a Democrat, House of Representatives, 86 years old. Bill Pascrell, Democrat, New Jersey, 86 years old. And Maxine Waters, 84 years old. Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, Jim Clyburn. So you have some big, you know, people. Frederica Wilson, 80 years old. There's a lot of 80 and older members of Congress that are there. And the only reason that some of them, like John Dingell, who I think was 127, retired is because they died.
Because he died. Let's not use they.
Well, I don't know. I think he transitioned towards the end.
Anyway,
But speaking of younger members of Congress,
well,
I'd like to get into one that we all know and love. I mean, I put a tweet out earlier this week. I think you saw it and you liked it, Colin, talking about how we have the 70 and up club in Congress being happy that another younger person got bumped off so they're not threatened for their seat. George Santos.
Mr. Santos to you.
Miss International Fag of Mystery. I'm fascinated by this.
I actually met him, and
where did he touch you? Point on the doll.
Here. He seemed to be a politician through and through. That is all I will say. And we all know how I feel about politicians, but he's in the right job. Let's put it that way. He was born for this. He was born for the stage.
Yes. He was born this way.
Oh, he was.
To his mother, who died like 3 times, apparently.
She died in 9/11. She died when she had him, and she died again when the bodega was out of bananas. God bless.
But so, what exactly is he charged with?
He is fraud, robbery, and fraud.
Yeah.
Okay. George Santos is
charged with bad taste.
George Santos is our congressional Joanne the Scammer, and we love her for it. Like, come on.
My favorite member of the House of Representatives is Lauren Boebert, and will always will be.
The Lululemon Boebert, yeah, the pants.
I'm getting kind of tired of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know.
Really?
I think the act is wearing a little bit thin.
I like her as a chaotic force.
Oh yeah, getting divorced, yeah.
Well, chaotic force, it's just tap target MTG, deal 2 necrotic damage to target creature, and then untap next turn. It's like that's what I like her for. It's just that's a Magic the Gathering reference. Anyhow, that to the nobody who listens to this podcast.
I was gonna say to the one person who listens to this, but he's on the call with us.
Exactly, it's funny. But no, yeah, I like her kind of just as like the chaos person. I like that. She's like Nancy Grace, but far more like aggressive, and I kind of appreciate you. She's willing to go after people. I kind of like.
They should
dare you. How dare you attack Nancy Grace and her character in that way? Nancy Grace is also a national treasure. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a
regional treasure.
Yes, she is a treasure of Georgia, and she can stay there.
Treasure of Georgia.
No, yeah, no, I mean she's kind of like she's got kind of like a white trash with money vibe, and I can respect that as somebody who's only one generation away from white trash.
In any suburb, you will find 100 Marjorie Taylor Greenes. Like it's fine, it's okay.
But she's weaponized it. She's weaponized the white lady. She's weaponized the Karen, and I kind of like that. I mean, if you're gonna be a thing, weaponize it.
She's reclaimed Karendom.
Exactly.
But I
Karen
mean,
with the hard
going back to the topic, do we think that George Santos is guilty of the crimes that they've alleged against him?
He's guilty of not blending his bronzer and his foundation right.
My take is he's guilty, but so are the rest of them. I mean, this is the scapegoat, right? I mean this almost quite literally. The demon Azazel sits outside the the hills surrounding in the Virginia hills, and they must send a scapegoat, right? Otherwise, he will come and reclaim what is his, which is DC. And so this Santos happens to be the current scapegoat. This is sort of
he expensed to his campaign a bunch of things that were $199.99, which I guess is right below the threshold. I love it. I'm here for
smart.
it. It worked until it didn't.
These are I think, Mitch, like you said, right? Like, you actually met him. He's a politician. Of course they're guilty. Yeah. Of course they're guilty. The question is who gets to be, who gets in trouble? Why, when, how? That's what's
let's put it this way.
He's our Jim Trafficant.
He was overly charming. He was charming in a way that you're like,
it makes you uncomfortable.
I don't know if I trust this person.
wouldn't leave a small child alone with him, but that's probably most politicians.
I wouldn't leave a small checkbook alone with him.
But you repeat Colin. Anyway, we have two last topics to talk about. But I want to save the best for last. So we'll switch back to some more cultural-ish stuff. Did you see the video of the trans Starbucks employee from England that was floating around Twitter for a while? I
missed that one somehow.
Okay. So a trans Starbucks employee somewhere in England or the United Kingdom was misgendered apparently by an older woman, and the older woman's husband started filming the altercation because the person was screaming at her for misgendering it, and then turned around. This Starbucks employee turned around and physically assaulted the man filming, and wow. Starbucks swiftly fired this person, swiftly. So, you know what? I got to give it to Starbucks for a second. You're the resident, Starbucks person because you live where you live.
I live in the, a lot of people know where I live. Yeah. My take on that is something like, I think it's weird that we give credit to companies for doing what they kind of should have always done. But it's on the rare occasions where an employee regardless of gender identity assaults a customer, they're fired. Oh wow, I'm so glad they stood up against the woke mob. It's well, no, because actually in the old days that just would have been normal. You're not allowed to do that. It's weird that this. I'm not adding you. I get it, but it's just sad that our standards have dropped. Right, that anytime anybody with any modicum, in this case Starbucks, which is a big company, the Schultz is we're not going to let that happen. Oh, okay, but you should have never let that happen. So why is it? It's just weird. I mean, this is that mindset thing too. That this does tie back. I think it's a really good. Thank you for bringing it up. It ties back into what we were talking about earlier. How people on the right are just oh, thank you, thank you so much. Oh, can I have another one? No. Oh, it's like a John Mulaney joke. Oh, fuck you, go away. Okay, thanks. It's whereas people on the left, case in point, demand stuff, right? They just demand it. And they're just we won't stop until all insanity is tolerated. I don't know. Maybe on the right, we need to be we won't stop until all reasonable order is established.
Fair enough. I understand your point because I guess my point is.
I mean, I'm talking about the mindset, right?
Right.
When I say pay attention to the left, what I mean is pay attention to how they implement their mindset, because we need to be just as tenacious, but we're not. Because I think ultimately, I think people on the right do kind of want to be left alone, but that's the problem, is that they'll never leave you alone. So.
But you mean any other company, would have kept the person, been oh, we don't condone violence, but we will. True. We will keep the person employed.
I get what you're saying. I agree, but my point is, it's just that's sad that it takes like that now Starbucks is seen as so conservative in this respect. I'm like, actually, it's Starbucks. I mean,
no, and you're fair enough. I want to bring up the fact that we all view Starbucks as this ultra progressive company.
It's not.
I did.
Center.
Well, no, it is, and they bow to all of the stuff that they're supposed to.
It is, but Howard Schultz is not progressive enough for the progressives. In fact, he's kind of a libertarian,
right? But
like the Whole Foods guy, like that Mackey guy.
I want to bring up the point that a lot of people assume that yes, Starbucks employs a lot of very progressive leftist people, clearly.
Right.
However, the company as it is, in doing research for a book, I looked at all of their DEI, that day that they shut down all the Starbucks and did like their mandatory training and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I looked at all those materials. I read through all of them. And guess what? The stuff that I got at a university was more progressive and more liberal and more critical race theory than the Starbucks stuff. The Starbucks stuff was benign. The Starbucks stuff was stuff that I read and I'm like, I don't find anything offensive by this. Like, there's nothing that you're putting in this training that I have a problem with. And I'm a pretty conservative person. And if I have no problem with what I'm reading, I'm like, okay, fine, have a training on this. I have no problem with that. But if you turn around and you get the shit that I got from, yes, I'll say it, University of New Mexico, all white people are racist.
It's every university.
Exactly. But I mean, I'll go ahead and call them out.
Every single one. Yeah.
Right. But getting things like all white people are racist, all cops are bastards, ACAB, all that crap. Starbucks wasn't pushing that stuff. And so I have to give them, again, credit for not buying into and pushing that agenda that we all assumed they were pushing.
I can see that. I mean, credit where credit's due for sure. But see, this is also sort of a mindset thing that I think people on the left, maybe let's just make I statements. It's therapy. I feel like people on the right really should stop looking towards corporations to either fix corporations as some sort of great thing or some horrible thing. They're corporations. Their job is to make money. They will do whatever it takes to make money.
It's their own self-interest.
Yes. So they are chaotic neutrals and view them as such. The instant you make that shift, everything starts making a little bit more sense in that you stop looking towards companies to make heroic stands or as these, purveyors of the horrible woke, soup du jour, because we're everything to switch, right? And everything to get incredibly more based, all of a sudden, companies would switch right along with it. They have no backbone. They will go where the power sends them, right? Because they want to make the money. So, yes, it's great that Starbucks showed some backbone here. They still make shitty coffee. They still, as a company, largely support shitty things. Every once in a while, I'll get it. I tried their fucking oleato. Did you try that? The olive oil thing?
Did you get the shits too?
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I did try it. It probably put some sort of horrible chemicals that will never leave my colon, but that's okay. There's other things up there that ain't leaving. So it's just, but like, I'll try it every once in a while.
Colon is full of, no, okay.
Yeah.
Colon.
Yeah.
Collins, let's say it 5 times.
Exactly. And my last name is Brown, which is hilarious. So, yeah. But no, like, it's what it is. They're Starbucks and they will remain Starbucks. And it's of course, they're always riding that middle ground line because that's where you can make money. They're a corporation. And I guess it's like, you don't need to hate you obviously what Bud Light's doing is ridiculous, but they're trying to make money now as a mistake. They from a business perspective, they shouldn't have done that. And fine, right? Let them suffer for that. I'll applaud that. But I also won't necessarily Bud Light's gonna change what they're gonna do. They're not gonna do that again. I don't think they're gonna double down too much harder on it. And likewise, I don't think that Starbucks is like this. Yeah, okay, they finally did something kind of halfway okay, but they're still Starbucks. I don't know. It's corporations, like I guess what I'm trying to say is corporations are like evocative of the culture, but they're not really guiding it. I think there's something else there. They're just trying to leech off of whatever they can get to make money. So, but that's me.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point that I hadn't planned on discussing, but I did just put out an article with California Globe on the writer strike, which it seems that the writer strike has sort of come out of this more woke agenda of Hollywood, being that Hollywood keeps putting out this stuff like that, you know, for example, that Lord of the Rings show that, you know, was very race neutral or whatever the hell it was.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you mean Peter Jackson's wonderful films or the original book? That's kind of all there is. But anyhow, let's pretend that happened. It's hypothetical. Keep going, man.
Okay. So hypothetically, you know, Hollywood put out this new show where, you know, people of all races were playing people they shouldn't be playing. And it basically it hasn't been officially like completely canceled, but it's been canned for all intents and purposes. And
intensive.
Shut up. And
our purposes are always intensive, Mitch.
The point being that it failed. It failed because of the message. It failed because of the wokeism. It failed because of all of that. Because the American people were like, I'm not going to watch this shit. Not only was it probably a bad show, but
it failed because of the money.
Right, because they put billions upon billions of dollars in it, and it made nothing back, basically. And so that's happened over and over and over again. And these companies are like, well, we can't keep doing this. So they sort of pushed that money issue down to the writers and were like, okay, we're just going to hire a few of you writers. Instead of like 12, we're going to hire like 2. And you're going to write for this show, and we're going to pay you very little. And if the show ends up making it, okay, then we'll hire, you know, more writers and make it a real thing. So the writers are not getting enough money or enough gigs.
Yeah, but fewer writers is better for society, I think. Don't you agree?
I wrote something about that, actually.
No. So my point being that this woke shit that they're trying to push has caused the writer's strike in essence. And it's indicative of what American culture and American consumers will put up with or will tolerate or want to watch. And so, yeah, I'm just speaking to what you brought up about Bud Light and about Starbucks and all of this stuff. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine. No, I think we're ultimately agreeing. I think we're just kind of coming at it from different perspectives. I want them to fail harder. I want more writers' strikes. I want more woke business failures, of course. Because, right, I understand that there's a bigger game to be played that's being played out here. And that is, I think people on the right are waking up to this, that this is how you have to start thinking about things. I think it's a matter of, you know, the hyper online theory cell types, I'll raise my hand, with that kind of are steeped in this. And it's about getting sort of like you guys always talk about on the show, it's about getting the boomer cons on board and be like, hey,
right.
So here's the thing, right? It's kind of weird that you built your entire personality around Budweiser. Don't you think that's weird? Like, you built your personality around a brand that doesn't care about you. Oh, look, they don't care about me. Right. And they never did. So I think
Hermes cares about me.
Yeah, no one else cares about you. Right. Because the corporations don't care about you. And I think that's a difficult pill to swallow for a lot of boomers. But I do think that more and more are being forced. They're just being forced to take it. Right. They're having to see it. They cannot look away. So, yeah, I mean, again, I totally agree. I think it's indicative of a shift perhaps that's happening. But I think the shift that's going to happen in the sort of the corporate sphere is to the center. It's going to be away from the extremes on either side towards the center, because that's where business has kind of always been. Right?
Well, the joke I remember was that, like, people on the right being like, oh, I hate corporations. They don't have my interests at heart. And people on the left, I hate corporations. They don't have my interests at heart. And so it's like there is kind of a unity to be achieved in that situation.
Yeah, even if it is just kind of a piece in the feud kind of unity of like Like, the corporations don't have your interests at heart. They have their own interests at heart. They're corporations.
Ever since the Chamber of Commerce released a statement soon after the November elections in 2020, in fact, I think it was within 48 hours, saying that we certified Biden's election and we resist any attempts to oppose it. I was like, okay, it's in. It's done. Like, I don't need Home Depot or whatever fucking corporation at the time. I think it was Anheuser-Busch or something like that being like, we certify the results. I was like, what? Right. What?
Right.
It was the most dystopian thing I've ever seen in my life.
But it's also a pay no attention to the man behind the curtain moment where you realize, oh, the real ruling class has made a decision. Right. And so this is, I mean, and this is sort of our buddy Marshall. Hello, Marshall. Would talk about formalism, right? This is the formalist analysis. It's like, oh, who's really in charge? Okay, well, it's the centrist business interests. They want to make money. And however that's going to happen, they're going to support that. People are tired of people getting socked in the face. Okay, let's not do that anymore. People are cheering and applauding. Yeah, let's burn down some cities, right? They got their finger to the pulse of the American consumer, right?
Consumer.
So, yeah, all your Funko Pops. Anyhow.
Well,
I saw a Funko Pop in a therapist's office once, and it fucking terrified me. But that's another story for another day.
Was it a Cenobite?
No, it was like a Funko Pop Freud or something.
Oh, nice. Well, sometimes it is just a Funko Pop. Sometimes there's nothing else to it. So.
Sometimes it's a dildo if you're brave enough. But anyway, what was your next topic, Mitch?
Well, anything can be.
Why are you encouraging him, Colin?
Shut up.
Speaking of
Are you done?
Interesting.
Are you done?
Boomers.
Are you done? Are you done?
No, I'm not done.
Are you done?
It's not over until everyone's finished.
What?
It's not over till I grab the towel. Anyway,
exactly.
Speaking of boomers.
Speaking of boomers, your favorite president,
who's
just had a lawsuit settled, and the entire of Twitterverse is up in arms saying, "Oh, he was guilty. He was guilty." Well, no, he wasn't found actually guilty of certain things.
Is that the E. Jean?
Yes.
Billie Jean Carroll lawsuit?
He was found liable, not guilty. So, yes, I want you to clarify and make.
Well, okay. So the allegation was that sometime in the 90s, she can't remember, E. Jean Carroll, who knew Trump, even though there's one photograph of them in passing at a party 15 years before, and he claimed to never meet her, and she didn't know him, was cornered by Trump in Bergdorf Goodman's as he flirtingly bought lingerie for a woman in a dressing room where he proceeded to allegedly rape her in the dressing room in full view of many people, and left a very crowded store. I've been to Bergdorf's many times. It's you cannot go in that store and not run into people, especially sales associates, because there's like 10 people for every one customer. Okay.
Because they know people like Wyatt are shopping there. Everything's got to be. It's just like your previous episode, right? You just got to lock those purses down. Anyhow.
Exactly. No, Bergdorf is the only store I've ever seen. It had the most expensive item for sale I've ever seen in a store. Kyle and I were walking through. We were in New York. We went and had like a lovely lunch. I was like, oh, let's walk through, because it's kind of a one of a kind thing. And you go through there, and it was kind of like this camel color, like brown cape, tan cape that women can put on. I was like, oh, this is pretty. Look at it. Pull the price tag. $47,235.
Wow.
It was made from vicuña wool from South America and fur trimmed. It was Loro Piana. It was very nice. So Bergdorf is a very nice store. But the fact that this happened apparently in a dressing room, apparently with other people in the store, and no one said any fucking thing or witnessed it at the time. But she had given 2 contemporary accounts to friends at the time saying, hey, I something happened with Trump and he raped me or something. And they're like, oh my God, that's so terrible. You're going to do anything? She's like, no, I'm scared. Even though at the time he had been going through bankruptcy proceedings, and anything that she would have said would have like completely helped her case and taken him down for permanently. So, so much for a leftist hero. If that really did happen, you could have nipped him in the bud in 1997 or 6 or 5. She can't remember. So it's a very odd deal.
Or maybe her dog was named Vagina.
Vagina. Yes. So this woman, there's a lot going on there. But the jury basically found, from what I can understand, that Trump was not liable for rape, but it sounds like he was liable for creating a condition or creating a situation in which sexual assault could have taken place. So it was not even a ruling, I think, necessarily on whether he did anything. It was a ruling on whether he could have done something. And because I guess there was no calendar date that said I was at lunch with so-and-so, or no photo of I was with so-and-so, or a security camera footage because it's in the 90s, that, yeah, okay, that could have happened. That's basically what they said. Yeah, okay, that could have happened. And that by criticizing her, it counts as defamation. That bothers me more than anything, because that is an anti-free speech measure. If you want to say there's a crazy lady who is obsessed with me, stalking me, and saying I molested her when I've never been in this woman's company with no one else around, in any kind of legally provable way, and then they say, well, you called her crazy, so you have to pay money. That to me seems wildly dystopian. So I guess what they say, that a jury can indict a ham sandwich, that makes sense.
Yes, it is wildly dystopian. Yes, but that's my point, right? Like, this is the illusion of sort of laws, right, as being as somehow neutral, which has never really been the case ever in any society, is being removed. And I think that while it's unfortunate the way it's going down, and it portends bad things, I think, for everyone, but particularly for people on the right, I think it's also kind of like, oh yeah, because this is lawfare, right? Law being used as a cudgel. Yes, this is what you do when you're in power. And people on the right are not empowered.
In the 80s and 90s, it was like, oh, you could sue somebody. If you really want to shut them up, you could sue them. If you want to, you could sue them. And it would be like some kind of like civil liability or everything like this. But now that that's tipped over into criminal liability, that's the part that's strange for me. And it all seems to be happening in New York. And whether it's under Alvin Bragg's jurisdiction or not, as the DA of Manhattan, that seems to be a serious problem. You've got this subway guy, or the guy who choked out the crazy guy in the subway, now being, apparently Bragg is going to haul him in for second-degree manslaughter charges, where it's like, okay, can we pick anything more specious? What about the other people who were there who also restrained this guy? Like, did they also get arrested? But between George Santos, between Trump and everything like this, I want to say the message being sent is not, if you knock an old lady in the subway tracks, if you steal something from Bergdorf Goodman's, if you embezzle $1 million in campaign funds, you will be arrested. It's if you are of the party we don't like and you charge things for slightly under the limit of campaign finance donation, if you may have bumped into a woman in 1996 but she can't remember and there was no, sort of arrest or police report made at the time, and you claim you've never met her before, if you restrain someone who is violent in a public enclosed space where this person is saying, I'm going to fucking kill people, then you get arrested, but not if you have done much more serious things in that jurisdiction. That, I think, is the scariest thing, because New York, for the most part, seems to only function when it functions as a law and order place.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, I guess, yes, I agree with everything you just said. I guess my 2 cents would be avoid New York.
Which is sad. I don't want to. It's a place where a lot of people I love live, and it's a place I love spending time. And it, has been relatively safe the times I've been there, but I've heard it's gotten worse, and I can understand that. People I know who were there say it's gotten worse, so I trust them.
No, I mean, it's not a dig on New York. It's just it's a sad statement of what it is.
It's a sad state of affairs.
It is. I guess as somebody, me, I live in a pretty shit-libbery kind of shit-libby place. It's bad. People ask me all the time, why haven't you left? I'm like, because I'm from here, and I kind of give a shit.
Right.
But somebody who's not from here, my response to them is, why are you still here? Right?
Well, that's a good statement, though.
Right?
I'm from here. That's okay.
Right. Yeah, you're from there. It's different.
You are invested in the success of that place.
Right.
And the number of people in America who are no longer from some place living in that place.
Oh, in our generation particularly, hardly anybody in millennials are from anywhere. I'm so thankful I'm from somewhere, even if it is.
Millennials are from generic suburb A.
Yeah.
And have no sort of roots anywhere. You care about what happens to that place. You're from Baton Rouge. You know what it's like. You're from a place and it's beloved, and you have people that you care about who still live there, and you're invested in their success. But
I live in a different neighborhood of the city where I grew up. But so I feel like I'm away from home because I'm just in a different neighborhood. I mean, maybe that's just I guess I spent a childhood in one place and I bonded to that place. And so I kind of care. But like people who aren't from like where I am now, I'm like, why are you still here? Because they ask, like, why are you still here? Because you're not invested like the way some of us are. Like some of us have, for better, for worse. I think it's a little bit of both. No choice.
And the part that always I feel bad for are the older people who don't have the resources to move anywhere. Like they bought a house for $28,000. They're not going to fucking move.
Into too much personal detail. That's also a bigger reason why my family's invested in this place is because we don't want to abandon people who we care about. Because and there's been some interactions and things that have happened over the past few years, particularly since the global panini, as you say, that has really underscored why we need to stay here. So
and even being from Fresno, which again, part of it is generic suburb A, part of it is it's an extended suburb of Los Angeles. As California does better, it does better. As California does worse, it does worse. It's kind of an extreme example of that. I feel like in a way I've never moved away from home, even though I'm 3.5 hours, 4 hours away. But it's kind of the same environment. It's an extension of it. If LA does well, the whole state does well. If LA does poorly, the whole state does poorly. The state does not focus on Sacramento or San Francisco. Like, those are completely separate entities. Those can fall into the sea as far as the state's concerned. But if LA does badly, the state does badly. So seeing that, in the 80s and 90s when LA went through a tough period and started to get safer, better, and then just in the past couple of years, that's not a good sign because it shows that there's no sort of pride of ownership here. Like, we have one of the largest states where people from out of state move here and then just as easily move back to whatever state that they're from. And B, there's a sort of idea of, because of that sort of transient aspect of the state, there's no investment in the outcome. California's about, okay, I'm going to move somewhere else. Like, it's a big deal. It just becomes a tourist destination or a stop along the way. And if you're going to do that, then why would you care about the old lady who's lived on Fairfax her whole life?
I mean, you have to. I've been thinking a lot about this lately. You have to kind of, and I mean this in the best way possible. You have to kind of adopt a mafia mentality. And what I mean by that is, before YouTube jumps down my throat, is you have to be like, I own this place. And I don't mean me. I'm not, I don't mean I get to be Al Capone. What I mean is I own it and care about it. And I want to be with other people who own it and care about it. It's kind of ours. And it's kind of not just anybody's. And not just anybody gets to do whatever the hell they want. This is my town. And I think that New York has a very strong, this is built into New York culture.
That's what's kept it going for this long.
I'm hopeful that New York can double down on that. I am worried about, I don't know if LA has that kind of mentality too much. Or maybe it only has
People say we're New Yorkers. People don't say we're Angelinos.
Exactly.
Nobody says that. That's weird. That's uncomfortable.
Yeah. So I think I have, and that's because, for me, the culture is the most important part of any place. And I think that New York's culture is more robust than most places because it's more unique. It's more unique.
Why I have a lot of respect for Chicago, even though in a lot of ways it's fallen through. But there was a point of pride of being from Chicago for a long period of time.
Chicago's a unique culture, American culture. At least it used to be. Yeah.
Yes, it is, and I think it's something that's worth. Every American should visit there. Every American should see it. There's some wonderful people. There's great bars, great food. Everyone shakes their head. No one wants to go with me, but I happen to have wonderful memories in Chicago, and I think that it's a city where watching it go into decline in a lot of ways, it's been parallel to the country. I mean, you've seen Blues Brothers and you've seen what it was like then, and the vibrancy of different neighborhoods, and how since then a lot of those places you can't even walk through anymore. It's bad. It's sad in a lot of ways. Like Detroit, okay, there is some Detroit hometown love and everything like that, but Chicago, if Chicago goes to hell, the only place left that people have pride in is New York. And after that, if that goes to hell too, there's nothing left. Everyone is just a visitor within their own place.
Yeah, visitor in your own country. That's a problem.
Yes.
That is a problem. And I don't know if there's no one solution. I think it has to take, wherever you find yourself, try to care about that place. And if you find that you can't care about that place, try to go somewhere where you can care about it and stay there for a bit. Maybe that's a very aphoristic kind of thing to say.
Hey, if you do leave it better than you found it. Like, can you do that at the very least? If you're a tourist in a place and you spend it, leave it better, spend some money there, make it nicer, pick up a piece of trash, do some fucking shit. Like, do something.
Yeah. But nobody wants to do anything. And then we sit around here and wonder why things are getting bad. I don't know. Like, but you have to, again, you have to kind of, you have to take on a non-violent mob mentality of, we own this town. This is our thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I worry the West Coast can't swing that. I don't think. I don't know if we can. Some of us try to. I think you guys are doing it in your own way, even though Mitch is somehow in between two locations. We won't go too deeply into that. But
he's between two genders.
He's just He's transcoastal, and it's okay. Yeah, I don't. He says y'all, but soda, but also soda, whatever. He mixes. He blurs the line.
You say y'all and pop, it's over.
Yeah, something like that. No, but people.
Oh God. Oh, that's just nasty.
Coke for everything. No, I think, but yeah, this is. It's just I don't know. I see, at least in my own neck of the woods, I see some quiet rumblings up here in the PN Dub. We are very quiet and are very on our own. Don't get to know people, but anecdotally, Seattle freeze in my neighborhood. People actually, when they heard that my car was vandalized and stuff and ruined, I actually met some neighbors from that. So
wow.
So that's bad, but then there's something it's good that's coming out of it. So
I'm
impressed. It's born out of sheer necessity because people we're so stubborn.
Your car got robbed. Mine could too. Hi, my name is Reginald. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's born out of sheer necessity. But hey, that's that group preference, right? That you need to find who's your group, who's your most immediate group in that area that would help you out, right? Who would help you out in a bad situation? So.
Well, that's good to know. I like that.
I'm not helping anybody.
You're not doing shit. You're gonna sit there, you're gonna drink a bottle of champagne and throw it at someone's head.
Exactly.
That's helpful.
Me and Wyatt will be out there fighting the zombies, and Mitch will be critiquing our form on the machete.
You're supposed to do it underhand. What's wrong?
It dulls the blade if you cut directly into the spine.
I'm back here cooking dinner for all you faggots.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so that's I don't want to leave people with a black pill, right? That's a white pill. Hard times make strong men.
Strong men make good times. So create strong men, you'll make good times. Don't leave people with a handful of pills. What's wrong with you? Don't be like Marshall.
Can I find a strong man to have a good time?
Strong men make good times. Hard men make better times. Someday you're sure sick. What's wrong with you? You can't say that.
On that note, everyone, thank you, Colin, for joining us.
A hard man is good to find.
On our 50th episode.
Yes,
and
we made it.
Maybe the Superfan finally gets to be on the show.
Superfan Colin, yes.
Maybe we'll make it to 100. Who knows?
You'll look it.
You know what? I act it. I don't look it. I act it.
Oh, my leg. Oh, it hurts.
Anyway.
You call these bagels?
Go fuck yourselves.
No, don't tell Colin to go fuck himself. He's on the show. What's wrong with you? Anyway, thank you, Colin. I'll click off.